Welcome back to Case Closed Anime Review, episode number 78. This I'm viewing the sixth and, as far as I can tell, last TV special for Case Closed. This is episode 1, The Great Detective Turns Small. This, simply put, is a retelling of the first two episodes of the series with a lot of extension. Yes. The thing starts off with Sherry, aka Anita, just rather her lab, just logging into her work. Now you see this episode scene at the end of the movie, the bookend of the movie, and they actually show some of the hints of later on in this particular film. And then from that point forward, it simply puts, like, we go to the aquarium, and then that's where the famous aquarium case, which actually was technically, they say that the airplane murder was actually the first case, but actually the aquarium was the first case he was involved with. But yeah, this was actually the most recent case he was involved before he was involved with the stuff that happened in the pilot episode. But then from the aquarium up until they do stuff with episode 1, simply put, for the next hour of the movie, it's simply put filling in the gap between what happened between the aquarium case and when they went to Tropical Land, where there was a rather fact that, well, Ren's phone was ruined by Sichi when he put it in her hood and promised to get a new one. Yeah, they don't show him actually get her new phone. Nope. They hint at it, but they don't follow up on it. And now, here's the thing. They do not show the high school. No, the high school does not make a physical appearance in this particular one. And then simply they go home, and of course Agassa's basically trying his experiments. And this is probably by far the first chronological time, sort of in present day, where you see Ren interact with Professor Agassa, because a lot of the time she interacts with him was when Conan was around. And they brought up the fact that they try to go get a new phone, but they end up basically running into Ren's rival, who appears in 2 scenes. Yep. Her name is Hina Wada. She is a canon character. You can kind of see this movie is mostly canon because it just expands upon a lot of canon that's already been established. Yep, and she's gonna fight him in the upcoming karate tournament. And then they go straight to Sonoko's house. Yep, because Sonoko just happens to show up. Yep, and before I get in here, they actually have images basically of stuff that's shown throughout the series. Like they show when Ren first met Sichi, the airplane case, the case in New York. Yeah, there's images of that. I'm glad the fact they show those. So it establishes the fact that, for surprisingly, they don't show images of the aquarium murder. But yeah, it's quite interesting the fact that, well, they actually show this stuff and establish the fact that, yeah, chronologically, this is what happened in their lives. Yep, and let me think here. Though pretty much right after that, then they had the karate tournament. Well, first before the karate tournament, they actually showed at Sonko's house, Sonko's parents. Yeah, this is the first time in quite a while they've actually physically appeared, because these two very rarely appeared in the series. Like, they first appeared in a case they actually mention here with this black star that Sonoko's uncle got her hands, who was actually her father's cousin. Yeah, they mentioned guys' hands on this particular black star, which hints at the Kaido kids' first appearance in the series. Yep, there's a lot of basically setup for stuff that's explored in the actual already been explored in the actual series. Where apparently her uncle was one who found the black star, because they don't mention before when the Kaido kid first showed up. They mentioned later, and they meet with a potential murderer. Yeah, the guy who they meet here is actually the guy who Sichi first catches back in the pilot episode of the series. Yep, when he catches him he confronts him for the murder of a company president. Yeah, that's simply set up for that. And of course they show off the special outfit she was supposedly going to wear for the tournament. But Sichi's like, no, she can't exactly wear that because they have tournaments. They have tournament versions of these outfits, but she can wear it for training. Can't wear it to an actual tournament. Yep, and then they showed the actual tournament where apparently they wear a face mask. Which, when they show martial arts in the series, they don't usually wear face masks for some reason. Yeah, it's like this clear thing. It's kind of weird. We also see a cam by Mystico. Yep, This is his first chronological appearance in the series, where because they hint at the fact that he's been in love with someone since this match, since he first saw her at one of Rand's matches, and he saw her, he instantly fell in love with her. Yep, and when they met up later on in the series, he mentioned that to her. The fact he was in love with her, and that's what started them dating. And of course, it took her a while to admit that, yeah, she's been in love with him the whole time. I mean, who better than the guy who knows martial arts? And who's really strong, who's actually very faithful towards you. Yep. Though, they kind of hit the fact she loses, but yeah, and of course, Cici has to go. This is basically this crime match. Happens at the same time when Cici goes to confront the company president for killing another company president and the catching him. Yeah, it's presented very similarly. Not much difference here. And then, of course, he takes her to. Of course, Ren yells at her, yells at him for missing a match because he had to go deal with a case. And then they go to Tropical Land. And mostly this is sort of an extension, basically, what was already seen there. You didn't see that much of Tropical Land in the original pilot, but this one, oh yes, we have to show a lot of Tropical Land. There's this whole sequence up until they get to the roller coaster lasts for about, I'd say, about 10 minutes. Yeah, then basically going on a Ferris wheel, doing various stuff you do at a theme park before they get to the Ferris wheel, and they actually show the actual murder. Unlike in the original pilot, where it's basically like a flash of light, here the actual blood, and it gets on Rand. But from that point forward, it's presented the same, up until we get to when Cici is turned into Conan. Yep, they actually changed the device that was used to knock out Cici. It was kind of a little bit quick. It's actually shown a little bit more extension than because in the anime, it's like he turns around, quick, whacks the back of the head. In this one, basically turns and he takes out an extension, walking it, and he whacks him in the head, and that's when he sticks the pill in his mouth. Oh yeah, and also they do a big extension with the guy who they were confronting. Now this is a bit of a change here because before I get to do this, there's a scene with Jin and Vodka before the stuff basically with this. Where you see him at a bar, and you see Jin with a smartphone. Now you're probably thinking, wait, in the original pilot, Jin didn't have a smartphone. Smartphones weren't invented yet. Modernization. Yep, and we see Korn and her partner Kurt, I think his name is, and basically they told him they're not needed, let's go. And she's like, you really want to ride that, don't you? Yep, and this is the same Ferris wheel that was shown in the series in one of the Metropolitan Police love stories that a police officer died on when a bomb was planted in one of these in his Ferris wheel in one of the Karis cars. Yep, yeah, it's a brief appearance by them. These two don't really appear that much in the series, but it's always great to see these two. Yep. And then pretty much right after that, right after Cici turns into Conan, it's mostly presented exactly the way it was presented in episode 2. From what I can tell, I mean, they did add one scene here. They actually show Conan actually looking through his child clothes. And they actually put in a scene here that was shown later on in the series of Sherry looking around Conan's house, Cici's house, right after he left. Where, he looks through the clothes put together and... Then, of course, Mr. Ren, that scene proceeds exactly what was presented in the actual anime. And their share proceed, they actually added it here where they actually put on these special mitts on their shoes so they don't get footprints on the house, which is common for police officers doing the other crime scenes, though this is something I thought was particularly very weird. For some reason, partway through the series, the animators forgot to have these people put these special slippers on when they come in. Yeah, it's like when they animate this up, they completely forget that little plot point. I have no idea why. Look around the house, and then of course, they show her at the end where she marks Chichikudo as dead, which of course she mentioned in the series. This one actually establishes that. It also establishes that when he had this little walking scene of, this was actually just after the karate match when Ren and Cici basically are just walking the road. There was a black car drives by. Now, we don't know who's inside. It's actually revealed that Sherry was the one inside of that car, and she saw Shichikuda for the first time. And then it's kind of revealed because she looked on his house, and he's a picture of them later, so he knows exactly who these two are. And yeah, and there's a brief scene in New York where you see Vermouth. First chronological time you see her in the series, and we see Jody and Aki, the agent who actually is possibly Sarah's older brother, where they're chasing her throughout New York City. And he's like we have to catch, like, your driving's not that good. And he's like, and where they go? I know where they're going. Like, where are they going? Japan. Yep. It's a brief little scene. And they do like a flash forward here. They actually correct some mistakes basically from the series. Like, one mistake they made is that they changed from the actual manga or episode 13 when they actually have Sherry's sister die, because they mentioned they show up a bit of extension of a flashback. They show the series of her sister basically telling her about Conan and how much, even though he's a child, he acts like an adult. So basically, she kind of feels convinced that, yeah, see, she's alive. Yeah, she had to lie to the organization. And they are actually dying, unlike in the actual anime where they actually hint the fact she could be alive. But from the dub I saw, yeah, she definitely did die. They probably changed it in the Funimation dub when they edited this series. Yeah, let's see what else. I mean, they show images of stuff that happened throughout the first few seasons of the show, like the first time Conan turned back to the Sichi, when he first met Harley, so I guess I met up with them. A few other things. Yeah, basically some minor cases. Of course, the main story ends for the Flash Forward stuff, where it leads directly to episode 3 of the series. Oh, and don't worry that they don't cover that here. They just cover it's just basically retelling the first 2 episodes with a lot of extension. Yep, and yeah, it's really good. And I do appreciate, though, the fact that unlike some others, unlike the last film, which I was so confused about the plot of it, this one I can follow it really well. And it kind of seemed as though this particular TV special was a love letter to the actual series, even though that this came out 22 years after the original pilot and the first episode. It's handled really well, and it's a really enjoyable hour and a half of a TV special. Unlike the last couple I watched, where the first one, of course, the third one is awesome. No denying the crossover between that and Lupin the Third is amazing. The fourth one is okay. Fifth one is just plain bad because of how confusing the plot is. This one, it feels as though the people who wrote this, it feels as though this was written by somebody who actually had been writing the anime with probably the writer of the actual manga as a consultant. Yeah. But this, utterly fantastic. If you're a fan of Case Closed, I do recommend watching this because it is so damn good and thoroughly enjoyable. Now, here's something interesting, though, they don't do, unlike when they do these revisiting of like old stuff. They actually use stock footage. This movie, no stock footage. All new footage. Done in the modern style of anime, which, high praise for that. But yeah, not much else to say about this TV special. Really good. Okay, so that's it for this particular review. And as for video sake, now I would do my Hero Academia review today, but still no dub. Yes, the dub for some reason is not resumed yet. Even though today they just aired the final episode of Season 4. And Season 5 is coming, which I'm so happy with that. Yep. Would I be watching this sub? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll probably decide that probably later. As for if there's any new episodes of Case Closed today, there isn't. None at all. Next episode doesn't air for a couple weeks. Yeah. Because this week and next week is basically it's basically a 2-part repeat. Yeah, it's just simply just a remastered of an old episode, The Wizard of the Ripples. This was something aired back, I think, of season 18 or 19, I think it was, of the series. It's basically just an explanation of how Masamune first met Sichi and ran 10 years prior to events in the series. But yeah, not much else to say about this. So, my next video I'm going to do will be a review of my first of 3 parts for My Girlfriend's a Slutty Virgin. Yep, I'm going to start reviewing that finally, okay? That'll be up soon. And I'm also hoping to do, if I get a chance to do it, a review of the new Chapter 1 Punch Man. Yep, see you next video. Bye.